Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments. We're the very own expert, our very own financial wizard, Money Whisperer, Judy Copenbarger. How are you this morning?
I am absolutely fantastic. Loving the weather, loving the season, not even afraid of the time change. I'm having a great
Nice.
time. How are you doing today, Carlos?
I'm doing fantastic, and I've noticed that I keep adding more and more titles to you. Eventually, it's going to be like a whole repertoire about 5 minutes before we get to you, right?
Just keep adding them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. Or if you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. We're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. I am very excited about today because, as we promised, or actually, I should say, as Judy promised last week, we were going to start getting into some deep dives on the conversation of financial freedom. So, what we want to make sure you guys do is if you're just joining us, please make sure you share this out with your friends, your family, business owners to make sure that they also get to know a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And because it is a very powerful subject, I'm going to stop talking so Judy can jump right in and talk to us about financial freedom. All yours, Judy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am happy to. This is one of my favorite subjects. And, we're all on a different financial journey and we all have an outcome in mind. Maybe some of us are just like, the forest, the little feather fade or whatever, but most of us kind of have a plan. We have a lifestyle that we want to approach. We have goals that we want to achieve. We've got what our future looks like kind of in our mind's eye and how we want things to go, from where we're going to live to what kind of car we're going to drive, what kind of business we might work in or own ourselves. And all of that is part of that journey. Financial freedom is it's such a nebulous, subjective kind of a term. But what it means for me, and in my experience working with thousands of families over the years, is it's when they don't feel like money controls them, they control their money. When they're free to do what they want to do and live the way they want to live, and they don't think about money and trying to get through the month, with more money than days, consistently. And then having something later to be able to expand what they want to do, maybe share with other people or leave something for their children or enhance their lifestyle somehow. So for me, freedom is that peace of mind that comes from having everything in place the way you see fit. And it doesn't mean the journey is ever done. Like I have enough now. I don't need to earn any more or do any more good with the money that I do have. It just means that we're on this journey. And so there are so many things that you can do. You do better when you know better, and that's part of why I'm on the planet, to help people understand how money moves and what the tools are, how you can use them, how you can avoid misusing them, which is easy to do with the financial industry structured the way it is. So really, financial freedom has four parts. If you break it down, it's one of those things that's really simple, but not always easy. And the first of the four parts is to just have a plan. Let's talk a little bit about that today. Having, a plan that's written, getting the right people involved, and then how do you approach that? The second thing you want to do is get your team together. Who's going to help you implement your plan? The third thing is to do it. Just Nike, just do it, and just implement and consistently, step by step, implement, and you'll be moving toward that ultimate goal. And then the fourth thing is you don't just assume you're on the path. You got to course correct. You got to check yourself. You got to go back and make sure that you're doing all the right things. You're on track. If you're not on track, how do you get back on track? If you fall off the wagon, how do you get back on? And those are really the four very, very simple steps. So today we're going to spend the next few minutes, if you're ready, Carlos, just talking about what that plan looks like and how you approach that. Does that sound like a good idea?
I just got my pen ready. I got my notepad ready. So now I'm set.
Okay, well, let's go. Okay, so number one of the four steps is have a plan. And the deal with a plan is it needs to be in writing. And before you even start writing, before you get the people involved that are going to help you with this plan, you want to make sure your mindset is right. And there's some famous quote out there that says something like, if you think you can do it, you can. If you think you can't do it, you're going to be right too, right? You know who it was? I think it was, who's the guy that did all the Ford? He did all the cars on the assembly line. I think that was one of his quotes. If you think you can do it, you're right. If you think you can't do it, you're right.
Henry Ford? Yeah,
I
maybe.
think it
Yeah.
was Henry Ford. Yeah. All those things are in the corners of my dusty mind. I've been using this mind a long time. So sometimes they're kind of stuck in the corner, those little quotes and the details. Um, but yeah, I think it was him or somebody like him that just had this great vision, and this great perspective and this understanding of how valuable the mindset is for whatever you're trying to do. When everybody says you can't do that, that's never been done before. Who do you think you are to attain financial freedom and live higher than everyone that you know and better than anyone in your family? Who do you think you are, right? You just got to get rid of those voices. Sometimes they come from within, right? Not always from another person. You got to get rid of those voices, surround yourself with can doers, and get your mindset right. And it is true. If you believe you can, maybe it's not as fast as you like. That's my experience in life. I always want it quicker, faster. I want to achieve the goal, on a shortcut. But you'll always be making progress towards where you want to end up. So you got to get this mindset right. The next thing is get the right people involved.
Right.
And by the right people, anyone who helps you make decisions about money. If you're married, that's probably your spouse. If you do life with extended family, maybe siblings or your parents are involved or your adult children are involved. Sometimes family business, you got a lot of cousins involved, right? It can be very involved. And so the people that are helping you on this journey decide where you want to go and what money needs to do in your life to get you there should be involved in this written lifetime financial strategy that you're going to write down. And by write down, I mean you want to have proper goals. You always want to start with why. And there's a really great book out there that's called that, Start with Why. And that just means, when you're purposeful and you're intentional, you don't start with, how could I do that? You start with, why would I want to do that? And once you get very concrete with your why, what's the purpose of this? And you're so certain that the outcome is, it has to happen. It's not like it'd be nice. It has to happen. Then you can fill in after the why, the what, and then the how. Most people do that backwards. They do the how. What should I buy? What should I invest in? What are they doing over there at the water cooler? What should I sell? What kind of insurance should I have? Should I have a will or a trust? What are they doing? What are those parts, those elements? But it's not really why. And the why for you has to come from you. But it might be to, do a little better than my folks did. Or it might be to live a certain lifestyle that you've always dreamed of, or to be free after your lifestyle is put together to help others and have an impact on the planet, and just really make a difference in the lives of other people. Maybe that's your burn. But whatever it is, you start with the why, then the what, then the how. And then you write this down. So proper goals have to happen. We have a couple of workshops and podcasts, and I believe there's even a couple of not podcasts, but a couple of shows that we've done just on this program about specifically goal setting, the 4 elements you need to have for a proper goal and how to do it. Not everybody grows up with parents that set goals or had vision boards on their walls or coaches that maybe, help them with things like that. So if it's not natural to you, or if you haven't had the experience of setting proper goals, which include the outcome, right? Includes the why and the purposefulness. You might want to watch one of those or listen to one of those to get a good handle on proper goals. And so you want to have a few of those. And in a moment, I'll give you a couple of examples of how that might work. But once you have the goals with your tribe, right, with the other people that are helping you in life that you're doing life with, making decisions with, you probably have common goals. Usually when you're married, if you're going to have a cabin in the woods, hopefully it's in the same woods. Now it could be your goal is to be you're at the beach and he's at the mountains. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, you're doing it together. So get your tribe together, round them up, and then work backwards from those very specific goals that you've created. And so one example might be, you might have her, if you're married, his goal, hers goal, and theirs goals too, right? They don't all have to be common. But let's say this is 2023 and in 2038, we're going to have a big anniversary and we just really want to celebrate. We want to take everybody to Hawaii, right? So we're going to need a chunk of cash for that, especially if we're going to be getting airfare for, other family members and maybe getting a timeshare or something like that. So let's say you need, in our example, in 2038, May 1st, you need $5,000 to buy the tickets and get the reservations and everything you need for that anniversary trip that's coming up. That means we work backwards. So if I need $5,000 in 15 years, what do I have to do every year? I have to save $400 every year to achieve that goal fully and on time, or $35 a month. And so then you say, well, could I find $35 a month almost every month between now and then? Yeah, probably. And then when the time comes, that money has been in a what I call a DNT account, do not touch, right? It's been set aside and part of the plan all along. So when that time comes, we're not using a credit card and stressing out about credit card debt. We have the money for the trip, and that just makes it so much sweeter. So that's an example of working backwards from the goal. You set the date and the amount of money first and work backwards. Another example could be funding a child's education. Let's say, you have a 10-year-old. Let's make it an 8-year-old so it's easy. The math is easy. We have 10 years until college time, trade school or college or whatever we're going to do, maybe even junior college. Save a couple of bucks that first couple of years. And so we want to save, a good amount of money. So what if you could scrape together $100 a month times 240 months, right? Over 10 years. That's a lot of money. That's $24,000 before it even grows. And if it's in a tax-free growth account, like a 529, it could be almost double that by the time. So you got 50 grand, and that came from just putting aside $100 a month. And maybe you can do half that. Maybe you could do twice that. But that's how you set a proper goal and work toward it. And so as your life shapes up, what you'll find is financial freedom is a series of all these goals that are in the process of being achieved as you go. And so you're never surprised by, an expense. It also would include having your cash flow and your cash reserves in the right position where an emergency account is available. Or for some reason you got sick and you couldn't work for a few months. We saw a lot of that the last few years, right? And so now your paycheck is compromised for a little while. Do you have enough savings to get through that and weather a financial storm like that? So a couple of those basic elements, and then planning with these goals, you'll end up with financial freedom showing up where you're achieving all the goals of the most important things in life to you. And that's how it's done, right? It's really not that hard. But it's not, I would say it's simple, not easy. It's where it seems difficult to people. And I don't think it is difficult because it's a habit. It's just like if you get up, like Carlos, you get up every morning early, like in the middle of the night, and go to the gym. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And at first, it probably didn't seem natural. It's like, oh, it is the middle of the night. What am I doing? Where's my coffee? But then once you do it, it's like, I can't live without it. It becomes a habit. And I would ask you, any given day, was it hard to get up today and go to the gym?
Every day sometimes it can be a struggle. It's just trying to stay, nice and warm. It's like, yeah, I'll snooze it another 15, that 15 minutes until you may over. Yeah, you know what I mean? But you're right. If you don't get in that mode or in that mindset, it's easy to just kind of sway and just say, yeah, I'll get around to it. You know what I mean?
It becomes a discipline. And
Mhm.
maybe it's not, your most favorite part of the day. It might become most days your favorite part of the day, but it's that discipline. Just like anything else, if you're training for some athletic competition or festival or some big goal athletically, it's like you don't want to go to practice all the time. You don't want to do all the stretching. You don't want to do all those painful recoveries in the ice bath, all that stuff that you do. And it's like, oh man, I had to really stretch today. It was hard work. And maybe hours of training for some of these athletes. If you're a runner, marathon runners, I've been in that one before. You're running for hours and hours a day for a long time, not just a couple of times, a long time. And you get to the other end and it's like, you know what? And I've never had that big endorphin hit they talk about, like the hormones like rush and it's like, oh, I've never had that. I just have pain and sweat and I'm tired.
Pain,
But
sweat, and tears, right? That's it.
yeah, but the joy of it, the discipline of it, it after a while it's like, I can't not do it. And so it might be athletic, it might be with business. There are things in business, if you're developing your business, there are things that you don't want to do. For, for a lot of people, it's the financial stuff. They don't want to track the business. They don't want to work with the accountants. They don't want to do all that. They want to go do what they do, build their thing, sell their thing, be in the creative mode. They don't want to do all this bookkeeping and, IRAs and SEPs and things like that. They want to do the fun part, which is why they got in business. So it becomes a discipline and planning is the same way. So you've got the elements, pretty simple, maybe not easy, but pretty simple. Hopefully you've written it down, get your mindset right, or none of this is going to be sustainable. The next thing, get your tribe, get your people together, write down the plan, get your specific goals, and then work backwards from those goals. And if you do that, you will have a plan that works. And next meeting together, we're going to do a deep dive into the second element. So once you have your plan down, you're going to build a team to help you implement your plan. Sound like a good idea?
That sounds like a great idea. One of the things I want to go back to what you said too, it's also discipline, right? So we're talking about, getting yourself going, right? And we'll use the gym as a perfect example. In this, we can tie it into anything else. There's certain parts of the day where you're more susceptible to make excuses for why not do it, right? So I'll give you an example. For me, it would be in the afternoon. Life happens, right? Things come up and all of that. So you have that out where you can just say, well, I'm kind of busy, so I can't make it today. But for me, it's just you get it done in the morning or whatever, and you have no excuse. Like there's nobody waiting for you, except you to get your butt up and get out there and do it. And I'm sure it goes the same way when you're planning. When we were talking about this with with your plan and all of that, is there specific? There's probably not a right or wrong answer to this, but is there a specific time, a specific place that you would recommend to just really sit down and map this out? And something that I want to follow up with on that is, in your career, what are some maybe downfalls that you've seen folks that are still going how about doing this and all of a sudden just they fizzle out? And it's like, why? You have that momentum and all of a sudden it's just like, what happened?
Well, there's a couple of questions in your question.
Yeah.
I'll answer the last one first. What happened? Usually it's the mindset. Maybe you didn't have success fast enough. Maybe you got a little self-doubt in there. Maybe you talked to somebody that said, yeah, that ain't going to happen. Who are you listening to? Right. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's hard. I don't want to get up at 5:30. I don't want to save that money. I'd rather go out, and spend more than maybe I should, or I want to buy that thing. Some people, it tends to be women. It's not me though. I'm really not a shopper. But some women feel like it's not okay to go to the mall and not bring something home. Like you're going to use their facility, you're going to go in their restroom, ride on their escalators and elevators and do all that, park in their parking lot and not give them any money. It's like, yeah, you can go. It's free, right? You don't have to be obligatory to buy things at the mall. And sometimes that's a challenge. And so if these gals, I know some guys that are pretty good at shopping too, and spending money. It's like, it's just like, where did it go? Right. But you can go to the mall and not walk out with a bag. Try it. And if it's a challenge for you, it would be good to know, wouldn't it? I think you'd want to know that. Yeah. So that's the one thing. If people don't stay on plan, it's usually mindset. But to the first part of your question about how do you get a structure together, I believe everybody has like a rhythm, a daily rhythm, a weekly rhythm, kind of cycles of how they operate best. And I don't think everybody is a morning person. Some people do their best mind work or their best physical work later in the day, or maybe even I've got a couple kids that are nocturnal. They're working all night till 5 a.m. This morning, I met my son in the kitchen. I was getting up and he was going to bed at a little after 5. So we shared some fruit and he went to bed and I was up doing my thing. And so everybody has a different rhythm. So with some people, and this is important in a marriage, some people might do their best work, their best thinking in the morning when the other one's like, I really don't even want to look at anybody till I've had a cup of coffee and it's double digits in the morning, right? So you want to know that rhythm that you have of when you do your best work, your best thinking, your best time to get along with other people, or you just need to be left alone. And sometimes you keep forcing something. We're going to get up at 5:30, and one of the couple, no. Or the other one at 10 o'clock at night. Okay, let's talk about the budget. The other one's like, no, I was done 3 hours ago. So that's one thing to just be aware of that I've noticed in working with families and couples over the years. Another thing is when people fall off the wagon and they try to get this done and they put everything in place and then they just aren't consistent. They don't have a plan for plan B, right? The contingency plan. And so what that looks like is, let's say every Friday night, we're going to have a money date. We're going to sit on the couch for 10 minutes. The kids are going to be watching their movie in the other room, and we're going to talk about money. How did the budget go this week? Are there any expenses coming up? Is there something that wasn't there before that we need to look at? Do we need to expand the budget in a certain area? Do we have extra savings? Is there a bonus coming up? How did it go, with the shopping this week? And just kind of talk about money, maybe preparing for taxes. This time of year, everybody's like gathering information. Do you have that one? Did this paper come in yet? All this stuff the accountant needs, right? And so to have a little money date can be really sustainable. But if you don't make it a priority, you're going to end up falling off. And again, one of the couple might be really motivated by that. The other's like, I don't want to date. Talk about money. I don't want to do it. Well, it's a discipline. We're going to do it. 10 minutes a week, we can do it. And another reason I think people fail over time is they try too hard. They try to do too much. And it's a great analogy with the gym, right? They go in there and they do a 2-hour leg workout the first day. It's like, you're not going to go back to the gym for a couple of days. You're not going to be happy the next day. Too much, right? You just got to ease in. Same thing with this. People will say, I know what we're going to do. We're going to get the app and we're going to budget and we're going to write down every nickel that you spend and every nickel that I spend. And every night at dinner, we're going to talk about, all of that. It's like, is that sustainable? Probably not for a couple. Now, you might have one neurotic, crazy person that thinks that's fun. It's not me, but they love the detail. And I have people that work on my team that are like that, and I need them because I am not that detailed with all the minutia and finding the nickel in the accounting or the penny. It's like, you know what? We're within a dime. I'm good. Right. But some people nerd out on that. They love that. So you want to be careful again, if you're in a couple and you're that person or married to that person, you want to give a little grace there. And you don't have to be all in where there's an hour of accounting and expense documentation every night. It could be, instead of ish. And usually and ish people are married to each other. And that means we're going to have dinner at 8. Well, let's make it 6, right? We're going to have dinner at 6. So one person is on the dot. Hey, it's 1 after 6. You said 6. The other one's ish. Well, that's 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after ish, dot or ish. So just be aware. It's another one of those things from doing this for a while. Usually those people are married to each other, and that makes a good marriage to not be alike. But you just want to give a little grace and room for that with any discipline, whether it's getting up and going to the gym or making a plan for your financial freedom in the future. Make sense?
Absolutely. And, something that's also very, very important is what you're talking about. Money is never an easy subject for any couple, right? Yeah. So the fact that if you can do it in little baby steps, that 10-minute suggestion that you made, I think will help a lot of folks from blowing up if you're only going to do it once a month, or where something major happens and all of a sudden you're looking at each other like, what did you do? That kind of thing. It avoids all of it, but it's communication is key. And I think that a lot of folks right now listening and joining us for the first time, make sure you watch the beginning of the show, folks, because it's a lot of great content. We've got a few folks that have already talked about, that they're learning quite a bit from what you're saying on here as well, too. And if you are just joining us for the first time, welcome. Make sure you watch the beginning of the show. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. Is a wealth of resources, which I'm going to have Judy briefly talk about it because I want to keep going on this before our time is up. So you want to talk about your website, please?
Of course, judycopenbarger.com, all kinds of articles, all kinds of videos that will help you on your journey, whether it's personal financial freedom you're looking for, whether it's personal financial guidance in all areas of finance, small business, small ministry, all of the answers are there to how it works, what tools are available for you, which ones you should be using. Why would I do a SEP IRA over a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA over a 401k? Why would I do a trust over a will or the other way? Why would I do permanent versus temporary life insurance? And do I need any at all? Right? All of those questions are answered when you know enough about how these tools work and what's available on the menu. Then you can narrow the ones that would be stupid to do that a lot of people do because they're sold something. So every tool I think should be available to every person, but it doesn't mean they all should do all of them. Right? You want to pick the right ones that you need to optimize what you're doing, minimize tax, minimize fees and costs, and optimize growth. That's really what we're all about here. But judycopenbarger.com has also access to the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And that's a whole course. It covers all 5 pillars of personal and small business finance. And it goes through a series of classes in each area that you need to know. So you can check that out. There's also a book by the same name, Money, Truth, and Life, that you can get anywhere bestsellers are sold. It's a bestseller. So you can get it at Books A Million, Target, Barnes and Noble. Amazon's probably the easiest place to grab it. And you can get the hard copy or Kindle if you like to read on your device. But that's a great resource. Very simple, easy read. But it's a reference guide for you. And it's got stories of people that did money really well and people that made a mistake you don't want to make. Yeah. And so sometimes just learning from their mistakes can save you a lot of time and money, and avoid a reboot. I like to call it a reboot. It's like, oops, don't do that again. Right. So that's all available for you.
Awesome. And folks, it is almost time at the end of the show. And you know what that means. I can't wait for this one. What is our challenge for this week?
I always want to give a challenge. And, just to mention why I do that, it's not valuable for me to spend my time or you to spend your time together if you don't get an outcome. And the way you get an outcome is by taking action. And so I always have a challenge for you to do something with what you've learned, apply it. And so I guess that's kind of the teacher in me, the parent in me is like, do something with it. Don't just be entertained or think that's a good idea and put it on the shelf, right? Share it with somebody else or implement. And one way to implement is by doing, and then it kind of stays ingrained. And these are principles that you're going to want to keep, right? So here's your challenge for this week. Of the things that we mentioned about getting your plan in place, a written plan with your mindset right, with the team, I would like for you to establish of those 3 things, where are you? What do you need to do next? So maybe you need to figure out who's on your team and gather them together and have a meeting, right? We're going to make a plan, set some goals. Maybe you need to start just with a mindset. Is there shame? Is there blame? Is there upset around money? Have you made mistakes that you just haven't forgiven yourself for financially? You're still recovering and you're going, why? I've been spinning. I keep finding myself here again. Why do I keep finding myself here again financially? Let it go and move forward. And you've got the tools now to do that. And these are tools that will steer you in the right direction. So maybe that's the one. Get your mindset right. Get the people together. And maybe it's just time to write down the plan and use your pen and paper and get the goals on paper. And just really think about, what would that financial freedom look like at my house, in my life? And go do that. So pick one of those 3 things and just focus on that this week. And that'll just take you a couple steps closer to making progress towards your own financial freedom.
Awesome, folks. And you've heard the challenge. So make sure if you have any questions, please send us a message. Also, if you have any additional topics you'd like for Judy to cover as well, please send us a message. And again, if you're not following Judy, do so at judycopenbarger.com. All of our social media platforms are there. And for those that are just joining us, please watch the beginning of the show. We talked about financial freedom, and it's a great episode. So make sure you also share it out. Judy, any last parting words?
Just make it a great week. You've got this.
All right, folks, we will see you guys here next Tuesday morning. Remember, 8 a.m. every Tuesday, replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Until next week, take care, Judy.
You too, Carlos. Have a great week. Bye-bye.